Chapter 2. Let's take a look at the role of logistics in supply chains. And in order to do that, I would like to reference a very recent holiday, and specifically that's Valentine's Day. If you received or sent flowers from or to your significant other, you can thank a logistics professional for making sure that those flowers are fresh. You might be saying, well, wait a minute, I bought the flowers. But if you think about it, where did those flowers come from? No, they didn't come just straight from the street corner. In fact, the vast majority of fresh flowers that are sold in the United States come from Colombia. The second highest number come from Ecuador. So if you think about those flowers traveling all the way from South America and still getting from your hand to your honey in a fresh, pleasing format, wow, that's really an interesting logistics problem. And specifically, the flowers are cut at dawn, and then its speed and refrigeration are very important. They're cut at dawn, as I said, in Latin America, and they're immediately packed in temperature-controlled coolers, and then the coolers are sent to the airport, and you probably guessed the hub that most of them go through is Miami, the vast majority, 90% of the imported flowers. And then there are other steps as well. They need to be pest inspected within 24 hours of arrival, they need to be transferred to temperature-controlled trucks to be distributed, and refrigerated in temperature-controlled warehouses. So you can see that, what an interesting logistics issue if you think about the trade-off between cost and freshness. So I think that leads us rather nicely into logistics as a topic for supply chain, and I want to look at that in a little bit more detail. Specifically what some of the activities of logistics are, and some of the value-added steps. And so I want to unpack that a little bit more. But before I get into that, if you look at the graphic on the types of logistics, where would you place flower delivery? So I'll give you a minute to think about that. And if you said business logistics, you are right on the money, no pun intended. Now, business logistics is probably something you've thought about, and I'm guessing that a lot of you are studying this topic for that very reason, to go into business logistics. But I also want to make the point that, look, there are a lot of other opportunities for applying your knowledge here. Business logistics, I think, is fairly straightforward, and we've talked about that before. That's the part of the supply chain process that entails planning, implementing, and controlling the efficient and effective flow and storage of goods, in this case flowers, service, and related information from the point of use or consumption in order to meet customer requirements. But have you thought about military logistics? There's another career opportunity. Think about the design and integration of all aspects of support for the operational capability of the military forces. Wow. What a huge undertaking. Whether these forces are deployed or in the garrison, and the equipment to ensure their readiness, reliability, and efficiency. Let's also think about events logistics, and that's the network of activities, facilities, and personnel required to organize, schedule, and deploy the resources for an event to take place, and to efficiently withdraw after the event. And then, of course, think about service logistics, which is acquisition and scheduling and delivery of services. So you can see that logistics is a bigger field than you might intuitively think about, and it delivers a lot of value. And specifically, we're going to look at the 5 principal types of utility or value, if you will, delivered by logistics. And these are form, time, place, quantity, and possession. So generally, production activities are credited with providing form utility, whereas logistics activities are credited with providing time, place, and quantity utilities, and marketing activities are credited with providing possession utility. So let's look at that. Let's look at the types of utilities a little bit more closely and see if we can apply that to the flower example to unpack them a little bit more. So what does that mean? Well, form or transformation utility refers to the value added to goods through a manufacturing or assembly process. And I'm going to put in a link to a Quizlet, which might be mildly entertaining, so that you can drag and drop these types of utilities to how they play out in the realm of fresh cut flowers. Place utility, with place utility, this is through logistics. And that's provided by moving goods from production point to the point where the demand exists. Time utility is the economic utility added to a good or service by having it at a demand point at a specific time when it is needed. Quantity utility. In today's business environment, it demands that products are not only delivered on time to the correct destination, but also delivered in the proper quantity. And then possession utility is that utility that is provided by having and being able to use the product as the customer desires. So let's take a look at some of the specific logistics activities. And then we'll also have a chance to, I keep coming back to the flower example because I think it's a worthwhile one. We'll have an opportunity to apply those to the realm of fresh cut flowers. So logistics activities, as you can see, not every company or organization is going to do all of these activities, but all of these might fall under the realm of logistics. So let's unpack them a little bit more. So let's take a look at transportation, which is the physical movement or flow of raw materials or finished goods, and involves the transportation that provides service to the firm. So transportation is critically important, and as you might imagine, there's kind of a trade-off between the cost of lost sales and the price of transportation. If you're willing to pay more for more expensive transportation, let's say air transportation, that may or may not be offset by sales. So that's an equation worth examining. Storage. And storage, in fact, involves two closely related activities. There's inventory management and warehousing. And this is another area where there's a direct relationship between transportation and the level of inventory and the number of warehouses required. So another trade-off. It's important to examine the trade-offs related to the various alternatives in order to optimize the overall logistics system. And very shortly, we'll have an opportunity to work with some of these trade-offs. But for now, we're just kind of introducing the topics. Industrial packaging. Packaging involves protecting the product and packaging it in such a way that it can be brought to market safely and securely. So logistics managers must analyze the trade-offs between the type of transportation selected and packaging requirements. So air transportation may actually allow the firm to save on packaging because of the lower risk of damage. And I'm going to put up another link for you because packaging is something that you may or may not have thought about in terms of logistics, but now it's getting so much scrutiny because of concerns with sustainability. And specifically, I'd invite you to take a look at styrofoam packaging. So I'll put that link up, and then maybe we can talk about that a little bit more. Moving onward. Okay, materials handling is important to efficient warehouse operations and concerns the mechanical equipment for short distance movement of goods through the warehouse. And of course, inventory control includes assuring appropriate levels of materials are available and certifying inventory accuracy. And barcodes and RFID tags have made the process a lot more efficient, but there is still the need to take actual physical inventory periodically to ensure that the numbers are correct. Okay, order fulfillment consists of the activities involved with completing customer orders. Order fulfillment concerns the total lead time from when the order is placed to actual delivery in satisfactory condition. In demand forecasting, It involves the prediction of the inventory required and the materials and parts essential to effective inventory control. So a material planner would forecast what parts are needed and then deliver that forecast to the buyer. Production planning concerns the determination of the number of units necessary to provide market coverage. The integration of production planning into logistics has become increasingly popular in large companies to effectively forecast and control inventory. And then, of course, procurement. Procurement concerns the availability for production of needed parts, component, and materials in the right quantity, at the right time, at the right place, at the right cost, including within the logistics area if it's more effectively coordinates and lowers costs for the firm. Needless to say, this is a critically important area. I remember a number of years ago having an unreliable supplier, which nearly shut down a production line. So the importance of procurement in logistics really can't be understated. And then, of course, customer service, which plays an important part in logistics by ensuring the customer gets the right product at the right time, the right place. Logistics decisions impact product availability and lead time, which are critical to customer service. And then plant, warehouse, and site location. Facility location is concerned with optimizing the time and place relationships between plants and markets or between supply points and plants. Site location impacts transportation rates and service, customer service, inventory requirements, and possibly other service areas. And then, of course, there are some other ancillary activities. Parts and service support is concerned with maintaining an adequate channel to anticipate repair needs. Salvage and scrap disposal deals with reverse logistics systems and channels in order to effectively and efficiently dispose of containers and other scrap at the end of the distribution channel. So I'm going to put up a link and I would invite you to consider which of the key logistics activities we've discussed are depicted in the video as they apply to fresh cut flowers.